It's my 55th birthday today, and I've had an interesting life. I remember 5 years ago on my birthday thinking, okay, I'm halfway through. What do I want to do for the rest of my life? What do I want to be for the rest of my life? Last night, I was up late with Robin. We were having a discussion about our values and the fact that I've struggled with mine through the divorce process, everything that's happened. I've lost a sense of direction for my life.
Hey friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Friday, November 1st, 2024. Janelle Brown and Meri Brown are going to link up this season. And the reason they're going to link up is so they can get on the same page about their finances and unite in their efforts to not let Kody Brown win, right? Can you believe it? All right. It's going to happen in a couple episodes. And all of this is because Kody Brown is going to try to hoover over Janelle and Meri and vacuum them back up into his life because he needs narcissistic supply. And he's going to use every tactic in the book so they don't walk out the door because of his ego, because he fears poverty, to keep his image intact, and a variety of reasons. This new episode that's coming up, Kody and Janelle are going to sit down, and he's going to try to get her to reunite with him and have a relationship with him. And the conversation will come up because she wants her buyout at Coyote Pass. Naturally, because Kody Brown at this point doesn't want to probably give her money, he would rather that she come back into his life so that he doesn't have to pay her, so the debts are no longer owed, and that he can have control again and have her finances all to himself. Kody has used Janelle as his number one worker bee and business manager for the entirety of their relationship. Janelle has always been the one to manage businesses, taxes, finances, to ensure that bills have been paid. She is the one that tried to hold him accountable, and yet it didn't really work. And then when Robin came in, Kody was able to kind of just keep her happy by letting her use money. And then he had the capacity to use the money however he wanted. As much as people think that Robin is the mastermind behind this, I think what Kody saw in Robin was that she was hungry for money. He knew he could keep her happy by giving her things. And as long as she got things, he could do what he wanted. So if he gave her money, he could go on and do whatever. And he appeases her and caters to her through money. But that in turn allows him to do whatever he wants with money. And now you have two people that are huge spenders that have no understanding of budgeting and that are both kind of hoarders of stuff and both come from poverty. They want to live the high life. It's going to get them in trouble. We already know this. But Kody's hovering or hoovering, it's a tactic used by narcissists, is going to be a big part of this next half of the season.
You don't get to be in plural marriage, with a leadership. Leadership will never allow you to marry again if you're discarding wives. Well, I was in terrible relationships, but wasn't willing to discard them, didn't want to discard them, didn't even know I was in terrible relationships. You know what really sucks? It's not divorce that sucks, it's marrying the wrong person. You have cheated me out of my contact with my family.
It is not my fault. You ask them.
I am willing to fake being in love with Meri, doing my duties as a husband, putting up with things that frustrate me so deeply that I struggle to be around her. If I need to, for the sake of whatever. And I'm just angry. So a lot of dark winds were going through me, a lot of devil, a lot of temptation, which would be destructive of my relationship with Rob. So I dealt with a lot of anger, and she would get frustrated. My anger was a turnoff. It was scary.
Kody is an equal opportunity narcissist. Just because he currently is showering gifts on Robin and giving her what he thinks she needs to stay with him and pacifying her need for things, and then in the same time allowing himself to have the things that he wants, he will use them all in different ways, and he will discard them all in different ways. He will devalue them in all in different ways, and he will 100% treat Robin eventually like he's treated all these other women. Once Robin develops her own backbone and actually stands up for herself and says no and tries to leave Kody, he'll do the exact same thing to her. And Kody will never be satisfied with just one woman. And he will always be trying to find a way to get these other women either back in his life or he'll be trying to find someone new. So, with that said, Kody has had so much to say about all these different women. And now that they're leaving, Kody is flipping out because Kody needs them for their money, but he also needs them for their ego, for his ego. And Cody's not willing to completely let go of his faith. And so he needs to feel like he's a king, a god. And part of Cody's narcissism and ego comes from the fact that 3 wives or more sealed to him means that he will go to the celestial kingdom and become a god in heaven. That's powerful to give to someone. And when you tell a man that he can become a god and then his entire family views him as a god and no one pushes back because he is the god, it creates really unhealthy dynamics in families. Something that they really do not discuss whatsoever on the show is the marriage ceremony that happens between the women and Kody when they go to the temple or the endowment house in Bluffdale for their church. And I've had an opportunity to speak to several different members of the Apostolic United Brethren, and they have endowments just like the LDS Church, but they are not the same as the Latter-day Saints Church. They splintered off from the LDS when polygamy was abolished basically by the LDS Church in order for them to get statehood by the state of Utah. But they use the old temple endowments that were basically under the works of Joseph Smith and Brigham Young and all the original leaders of this church. And one of the pledges that they take when they are endowed and become like full members of their church is that they will never tell the secrets of what happens in their temples or in their endowments. They pledge that if they will not tell anyone, and if they do, they'll slit their throats and disembowel themselves and blood atone themselves for not keeping the secrets. So they don't tell us what they do in their weddings because they've made a pact that they will literally slit their throats and blood atone themselves. Kind of gross, but they're not going to tell you that. The AUB does believe in blood atonement. Okay. That's another thing they don't tell you about. And when they're when they're being sealed to Kody, one of the things that happens is each one of the women have to agree to allow a new wife to come in. Now, they don't necessarily want to, they're not doing this because they want to. They're doing this because they're told they have to, because it's their job as a wife to build their God's kingdom or their priesthood's kingdom. And that means by allowing him to take on more wives to grow their family so that there's more babies for the kingdom. And they have to do what's called the law of Sarah, pass down the law of Sarah. And so that means they have to hand over their husband to a new wife. And so they will place the hand of the husband in the new wife's hands and they pray. And during temple endowments and the marriage ceremonies, the wives pledge loyalty and pledge to be submissive to their husbands as their priesthood authority. So they take this vow that they will be loyal and obedient and submissive to their priesthood. They will obey their priesthood. And then the man takes a pledge that he will obey God and be submissive and obedient to God. The only way that a woman actually is able to get to God under this system is through their husband. So there's a disconnect where a man is their line to God and the man is next to God. And so because he has so much power, he has all of the say. And so a woman's loyalty is a vow at marriage in this system, meaning that she is to protect the priesthood authority, not show disrespect to the priesthood authority, not disobey the priesthood authority. Trust that this priesthood authority is going to have her best interests at heart. And this means that in this cult, women are not allowed to speak ill of their husbands. If they disobey their husbands, they're disobeying God. If they speak ill of their husbands, they're speaking ill of God because they don't get to have a direct relationship with God. They do, but it's almost like through their husbands. And the only way that they get to heaven is through their husbands. And so when your husband is like God and then you're disobeying him, of course, the God is going to act badly and respond terribly and try to, chastise and, punish you. It's easy for a lot of us on the outside looking in to say like they are completely melting down and everything is blowing up because Kody wants money and Kody wants his ego and all of these things and he's only going back for money or he only wants control. Kody doesn't want to give up the fact that he had 4 women pledge that they would basically be his minions, do whatever he wanted, do whatever he said. And Christine's mom, Annie, made a comment several seasons ago. It was like the same year that it was the season where she moved in with Christine. And she mentioned how women don't leave. People don't leave this culture. And when she left, it was like people were shocked because no one leaves. When Annie left, other people left. There was a little bit of an exodus in like the 90s and the early 2000s because there was a huge problem in the Brethren with doing really bad things, horrible things to children and to members of the church, embezzlement. And a lot of people ended up leaving the church. And prior to that, women just did not leave. And so men didn't have to really care about what they did with their women because they're told they're the priesthood and the women are told to obey. And bad guys in this group who don't care about their families and care more about being a god and being worshiped don't always treat their families well. Now, there's not every man in this culture, and I want to be clear, not every man is like this. There are some good men that don't let their ego get in the way, but it's few and far between. It's unfortunately, and then those men that don't and can't do it generally end up leaving, or they don't become plural husbands, or they don't have more than one wife because they just cannot handle or think of like hurting other people. So the ones that end up becoming powerful in this group often are the ones that are the most egocentric and the most narcissistic. And power and godness and being told you're a god can go to your head. I think Kody is a narcissist by his upbringing, but I also think that the cult itself just creates bigger narcissists in both men and women. So all of this is to say that Kody believes that these women are his property and he's going to do whatever he can to not let them go. And if that means that he needs to somehow lure them back in with promises or with, love bombing or tears or praise or for, I'm so sorry. I'm a different person now. Can we start over? All of that, all of those strategies, he's going to start to try to hoover over them. He's going to try to start to suck them back in because Kody doesn't want his property to go out the door because he feels like that's his. No one else deserves it. He'll say, in one breath, he'll say, I'm offended that they would be in eternity with me. But he's just saying that because he's been rejected. In his head, in the back of his head, he's not saying that. I guarantee you he's not saying that. The words he's putting out here into the universe is because he's been rejected and he needs to look like the tough guy. In Kody's quiet moments, he's pissed because he lost his property and he is going to devalue them publicly so that he doesn't look like a jerk, but privately, he's going to try to do whatever he can to get them back so that he can have his kingdom. So Janelle and Meri have to start teaming up because Kody's hovering or hoovering, which is a tactic done by narcissists, is going to come on strong because he wants them back for his kingdom because they're his property. That's really the simplest way of putting it. Because Kody has had these women in a cycle of narcissistic abuse for so long, the women that are leaving have all begun to educate themselves on narcissistic abuse. Meri follows narcissistic abuse pages And if you've noticed, they're starting to use words like gaslighting, projecting. They'll talk about rewriting history because they're understanding the tactics that Kody's using. And the cycle of abuse and narcissism when you're with a spouse or a partner that's narcissistic, it's pretty simple. It's according to choosing therapy, there's the first stage is idealization. And this is when it's either the relationship is new or they're going to start the relationship over. And there's like so much joy, so much happiness. It's often like what's called the honeymoon stage. It's considered idealization and narcissistic abuse. They put their partners on a pedestal, they make them feel perfect or incapable of wrongdoing. And this can feel super nice for the person that's getting it, but it escalates and it can actually become overpowering and overwhelming. So what they do is they love bomb, they give them lots of attention, they do grandiose gestures, they give them elaborate gifts, they wanted to get married very early on, there's not a lot of boundaries, then they isolate their partners in the name of love, they quickly move into intimacy, and then they take ownership over their partner and relationship. So they try to lock you down really fast and then get you into a marriage, get you into a relationship, and then they can control you. And then the next stage of what happens is after that wears off, they start to devalue their partners. So they will knock their partner off their pedestal, make them feel worthless, and start putting them down. And they might even use physical abuse and physical intimacy as a weapon. So we know that he took it away from Christine. We know that he's used verbal abuse. And then when they're confronted, they play the victim. So what devaluing can look like is they try to change their partner, they increase their criticism, they gaslight, they use physical threats, they either have poor or no communication, they do increased violations of boundaries, narcissistic triangulation, increased control, withholding physical, emotional, or sexual intimacy. The next stage is rejection. And this is the point when they discard their partner and they don't allow disagreements. And instead, they'll blame the partner for everything. So they aren't interested in love and security. They want control and they need to move on to the next victim or they need to re-engage and start over. The rejection phase can include contempt and rage, betraying the relationship, so cheating, invalidating their partner's emotions, placing blame on their partner, playing the victim, physical, emotional, and verbal abuse, and ending the relationship permanently or temporarily with attempts to continue the cycle of abuse. So they are done with whatever you're giving them and they're going to just put it all on you and blame you for everything. When they've done all of it, they've created all of the problems, they've made everything bad. And then after they discard you, after they've blamed you, after they start slandering you and make you feel like hell, they're going to start all over. And what they do in order to do this, they need to hoover. And it's like a vacuum. So they need to try to suck you back into their world. And they start using love bombing or spreading rumors. And it's intended to suck you back into the relationship. So what hoovering can look like is repeatedly reaching out, apologizing, making promises to change, threatening to hurt themselves or others due to their emotional pain, sending expensive or thoughtful presents, lying or exaggerating about your behavior to others to have those people reach out to you on their behalf, showing up at your work or home, or claiming to accidentally text you or call you when making contact. So what he's trying to do now is trying to hoover them back in. Rob, he is going to help Meri move and he's going to like break down and start crying because he can't believe she's gone. He's so sad and he just doesn't know why it has to be over. These are gestures to Meri because he's past the rejection stage and now he's trying to re-engage. And he's doing this because in the past, he's been able to do this to Meri to keep her from leaving. He doesn't want her. He doesn't want any of these women, by the way. He doesn't even want Robin. He just wants his ego fed and control. And so now he needs to use whatever tactics he knows will work on each one of them to get them back. With Janelle, he is going to try to get her to come back to him with Coyote Pass. And she's going to want a buyout. He doesn't want to give her a buyout because that means giving up control, giving into her. I don't really think it's about money. I think it's about control. And I think he is going to try to get her back. And in the past, he has been able to hoover over her by saying all the right things. She has said that he has a propensity to get in with her, talk with her, and say all the right things. And then she's back with him and everything's great and everything is good. And he love bombs her and does grandiose things to her. Same with Meri. He'll probably do the same thing. And so, what Janelle is doing in next week's episode, after she meets with Kody this week, is she's going to meet with Meri to try to warn her about Kody and warn her that he shouldn't trust Kody. She shouldn't trust Kody when it comes to Coyote Pass. She shouldn't trust anything that Kody says or does, and that Kody has ulterior motives and that this is not a good situation. The challenge for all of these women is that because Kody has triangulated them, he has eroded their relationships so that they don't trust each other. And at times, he's used the women to actually victimize the other women. And so they almost become leery of trusting each other because they've all been abused by Kody. And it's hard for them to repair relationships even after he's been removed. And I think Janelle and Meri have always been very vulnerable to re-engagement with Kody. And I think Janelle is still vulnerable, frankly. Even though she's moved to North Carolina and even though she's moved on, she still makes comments like he's very charming, you know? She's susceptible. That's why she needs to have very strong boundaries with him. And in order for Meri to be strong and not give in, she needs to understand who Kody is. And I think today Meri does know who Kody is. I think she has a very good sense of it. And I do not see Meri going back. The fact that Meri took the steps to do the release and be completely disconnected from Kody tells me that she was willing to take the steps to just be done with it. She felt like she had to do this to move on. Kody obviously didn't like that, and he's going to try to bring her back in. Is it about money? Yes, but it's not just money. It's about he's a narcissist, and it's about control, and it's about his kingdom. If all of the women want to be successful in not in really beating this situation, they all need to band together and stay consistent in their communication with each other and not let him get in the middle of their relationships or in their goals. And they need to listen to each other instead of listening to his noise, because his noise is going to be to try to distract them so that he can get what he wants. Because ultimately, his ego and his needs are more important than everyone else, his supply. It's very hard to leave narcissists. You become, at least in my opinion, and in my experience, you become trauma bonded to them because going through the cycle of abuse with them, you're always waiting to get back to that idealization phase where they like can't stop praising you. Because of that, there's like this constant longing of wanting to be loved. And if you just do something better, they'll love you. And so they prey on that. And when they hoover, that's when you actually have to be the strongest, because they'll use what other tactics they can, that they think they can get to you to get you back in. And if you don't hold those boundaries, they will win. And I think what Janelle is going to try to do is help and encourage Meri to hold those boundaries and not let Kody in, because the TLC synopsises for the next few episodes say Janelle warns Meri on trusting Kody about the Coyote Pass property. Okay. So she goes and meets with Meri to warn her about what's going on. Another episode is Kody sobs after helping Meri move away from Flagstaff, leaving Meri confused about why he has pushed her away for so many years. So Janelle in episode 9 is going to warn Meri. And by episode 11, Cody's crying and sobbing that she's leaving him. So Meri has to be strong. She does. I mean, frankly, any one of them could be vulnerable to him at any given time if they're not strong. And I think if these women could actually put their differences aside and stop letting Kody get in the middle of things, they could literally get together and sue him, all three of them together. Not just Christine, not just Christine. This is a lot to put on Christine. Christine is going for child custody and custody of Truly. But Janelle still could have a claim for Savannah. Janelle could still sue about Coyote Pass. All three of them could sue when it comes to the show and contracts and non-payment. Any one of them could fight for their kids because Kody has exploited them. There are so many legal things that these women could do, but the cult is so anti-litigation and it's ingrained in them not to go to the courts that I think part of the reason why Janelle and Meri haven't done anything is due to that indoctrination. The fact that Christine is suing tells me that she's further out of the cult mindset than the rest. And for Janelle and Meri, if they can strip themselves of that fear of litigating, all three of them could literally get what's coming to them, which is confidence, assets, money, and knocking him down, taking him down. Both of them have the capacity to hold him accountable. Janelle and Meri have all of the secrets of all of the fraud, all of the financial moves and everything that Kody's done. Kody doesn't want Meri or Janelle to walk away because both of them were on all of his businesses, all of the properties. They know everything about what he's done. The only other person at this point that knows is Robin, but Robin doesn't know anything except for what she knows since she's become the legal wife. Meri and Janelle have 30 years of his crimes that he's committed. And they could literally team up, share information, collect information, and take it to the feds. The reason why these guys are able to continue to do what they do is because their family members and the women that leave are so scared. And they're afraid that the federal government or law enforcement won't believe them. But if they are historians that take notes and have all the details, they could be like, here, look at what he did. If they really believe they've been abused and that this was wrong, going and getting justice for themselves and for the kids by going to law enforcement would be what I would do. They probably won't. Janelle and Meri still seem to have resistance when it comes to litigation and to law enforcement because the cult makes them scared of police. If they could unite, they could take him down. Janelle is going to plead with Meri because Janelle needs Meri on her side so that she doesn't get screwed. But they have the same goal. They need both of them to walk away without getting defrauded by Kody. And they have to work together. Otherwise, Kody will win. And he is a patriarch. He will find ways to win regardless of what they say. So she and Meri need to get on the same page. We know Coyote Pass is paid off now. It hasn't been sold. There's no other liens out against it. They didn't take out another loan to pay it off. It was all paid off in June of 2023. But to date, it hasn't been sold. It hasn't been put on the market. It's just sitting there. And as long as it sits there, all it is an asset that has no movement. It's not liquid. They have to pay taxes on it. They have to maintain it and whatever requirements are of whether it's like making sure that there's not junk on it or whatever. They can't ignore it. They have neighbors, so they have to maintain the road. And they are putting money into something that hasn't made them any money yet. It's only an asset once it's sold, and then they can actually make the equity off of it. Right now, they're all still embattled in what to do about this, and it can't be sold presently because of the lawsuit that Christine filed in the custody case, because any asset that Kody has right now has to be used for determining what his net worth is. So they're going to look at not only his income, but his assets. And assets include property. And he needs to be able to show, like, this is my property. This is not my property. And if you get rid of your property, then you're trying to like lower your asset level, which trying to reduce your child support. He needs to make sure that he can't sell anything while he's going through that process. And so it actually indirectly affects Janelle and Meri, but none of them did anything before that. And finally, when it comes to the lawsuit with Christine, I want to be super clear about something. I have been in civil litigation, and I'm presently at the tail end of a lawsuit that I'm hoping will wrap up early next year with a summary judgment in my favor. But when you provide documents for discovery, like financial records, usually they're sealed and they're not public. Discovery isn't something that I can request from the court to get access to. It's not filed in the court system. It's exchanged between attorneys. Christine can't share discovery that Kody gives her to give to Janelle and Meri. She can't. It's private and it's only for this case. Legally speaking, she cannot disclose his information to them. She can't hand over tax returns and give them to Janelle or Meri without being held in contempt and violating court orders. She can't share anything financially that she learns from that case. If it's a public document that states Kody's income is this, sure, they'll be able to see it in a court order, but they don't get to see Kody's taxes. And Janelle's already seen Kody's taxes for years. She was the one that filed them. And as far as like forensic accounting, they don't need a forensic accountant. They know where the money is gone. They're just not saying it publicly. They know all of the accounts. They know where everything is. They know how he spent his money. They're not dumb. And finally, and I want to be very clear about this, just because Meri got a release, we do not need to be encouraging Christine or Janelle to obtain one. Just because the prophet's daughter said that Dave would release them doesn't mean they need a release. Dave Watson is scum of the earth. And Christine does not respect these leaders. They hold no authority over her, and she will never bow to them and ask to be released. And Janelle doesn't need to either. No one should be encouraging these women to seek a release from Kody, because then they would have to go back to men that are abusive narcissists who act like they control their destinies. Christine doesn't need a release, and neither does Janelle, because the entire faith is fiction, period. And they don't need to give authority to scummy men that are just disgusting and gross and don't deserve their time or energy. And Kody, who cares what Kody says about them? Don't let some noise about what Dave Watson said make you think that they need a release. They don't. My hope is that through this process, Janelle and Meri can get on the same page, that they can all team up, that they can get together to take Kody down. And they have to be strong. So I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Will it work this time? Will they finally get on the same page? Tell me in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. Every single day, there's so many of you that are watching these videos that are not subscribed, and I am only 8,000 subscribers away from 400,000. Will you help me get there today? Also, make sure once you've hit subscribed, which is totally free, to click the bell so notifications are all set so you never miss a video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, everyone.